Hi, I'm Brenda Appleton, and I'm co-chair of the Victorian Government LGBTI Task Force. One of the big areas that's been a problem for those born in Victoria has been making changes to their birth certificate. At the present point in time, the requirements are forced sterilisation and forced divorce on members of the trans and gender diverse community.
The current birth certificate laws state that I have to have surgery to my reproductive organs for the purpose of passing as the other gender, for me to be able to change my marker from female to male. How does having a full hysterectomy make me more like a man? Does it mean that every woman who's had a hysterectomy is now a man?
And to realise that to get any kind of change on the birth certificate would require possibly going through medical procedures that are incredibly expensive.
I was told that I would have to get, tens of thousands of dollars worth of therapy and surgery and medical procedures that I wasn't sure would ever be right for me. And I certainly, at age 21, I'm not looking to kind of jump into all of a sudden.
I want my identity, official identity, to match my presentation. I don't want to have surgery to achieve this. This is critical for me. I don't also wish to be divorced, which is my second point.
I'm married to a wonderful man. He's the love of my life. We have a beautiful daughter together, and I never want to not be married to him.
The other area that we want to see covered is the provision of the ability for young people to make changes to their birth certificate as well. This is particularly important for those who might be going to school and are required to produce a birth certificate as part of their enrolment process.
Being able to say who you are on your birth certificate is something that's hugely important to young people, to their families, and to their ability to go about their life. We enrolled our daughter in school and were confronted by a school principal who said that he would not record her name and gender as we were requesting it to be recorded, unless he saw a birth certificate that proved it.
My transgender son is 8. Since he was 6, he's wanted the gender marker changed on his birth certificate. When I asked him how important it was to him, he said it's infinity important. It's more important than food. As a transgender male, he will probably never have surgery in his entire life, which means he will never be eligible under the current law to have his gender marker changed.
At the Royal Children's Hospital, we support young people to be who they are on the inside, but the law doesn't allow them to do that.
I spoke to my daughter Evie and I said to her, what would it make you feel like if you had your gender marker changed on your birth certificate? Her response said, it would make me feel whole.
I would love to see young people like me to be able to affirm who they are on their legal documents without being forced to go through invasive procedures.
The next area that we would like to see changed relates to there being more choice than male and female in terms of the gender or sex marker description.
My name is Gina Wilson and I'm an intersex person, and I'd like to say something about birth certificates and how birth certificates affect me. When I was born, my sex was unknown, so they assigned me a sex. I wish I could have at some stage had some say in what was on that birth certificate, because the assignment that they gave me has been a plague for me all of my life. I'd be more than happy. In fact, I desire to have my birth certificate record how I was born, neither male nor female. If that's an X, that's a step in the right direction. But my real gender, my real sex, is intersex.
We want there to be an ability for a person to affirm their gender and make their own declaration in terms of their expression of their gender, and not be forced to provide what becomes a very pathologising document by way of having a medical certificate from some third party to affirm that it's appropriate for them to be able to change their sex and gender marker on their birth certificate.
Even on a day-to-day level, apart from it being so hurtful, when I try to apply for a job and have to get a police check, when I try to apply for additional documents, it makes my life hard because they see you know, a person in front of them that's quite clearly a girl, but then they look at a document that totally contradicts that. And it's, you know, at the very least an irritation, but at worst it can actually be quite frightening and quite difficult to go through that. It's about safety.
It's peace of mind.
Freedom from discrimination.
This is acceptance.
Is a social acknowledgement.
It's not about others being able to define me, but for me to be able to define me.
It's about celebrating diversity.
It would be about true recognition.